signal.
Yep, red light's working.
We might just invest in a better camera. I'll tell you what, they're shut up.
Well, anything has. Yeah, you're not fishing effectively.
That is.
Yeah, I know, but you're not fishing effectively.
I know.
Yeah.
So right, the thing is, just every now and again, just lift the pole, lift the float out.
Yeah, and
drop it back in.
Just nice and gentle, you know, let it go back down again.
Just moved your baits. It's moved your bait on the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, because if the fish have moved up in the column of water, say they're intercepting a cloud of ground bait, for instance, then just the very act of raising the bait in the water and letting it come back, flutter back down, because there's no weight on the hook, apart from the hook, taking that down, they're all up the line.
Yeah.
And you can just, you know, they'll think it's falling.
You shot it all up the line rather than the hook.
They'll think it's falling with the bait, yeah. And
this shot pattern that is up the line rather than by the hook.
Yeah, this is an unknown quantity, this lake, because I've not fished it before, so we're just sort of experimenting to see if we can attract anything.
I've fished it quite a few times with rod and line.
Yeah.
And very often I'll go around one of the pegs right down that side, then you can cast into that.
Yeah.
Where you go down that side, you get a peg down there where the notice board is, then you can cast right across the lake to that way.
Yeah.
The only trouble with trying to cast is you've got a lot of overhanging trees.
Of course.
And trying to stand on the edge and cast sideways with any accuracy, well, there's probably people who can do it, but...
Small rod, 9-foot rod, maybe a 10, yeah, you don't need anything more in it.
Even that is, the trees are so overhanging that you're almost having to hold the rod vertically to start your cast.
Yeah.
And trying to stand on the edge of the bank and cast sideways, well, I can put it at a distance, but you know, whether it's going to be in the same tone or not, I don't know. And I remember one day, very, very gentle knob. I could see the reeds moving the other side and a few bubbles, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So I went to put it just short of the reeds. Very, very gentle flick. And it went straight through the foliage of the tree on the far bank. And my mate Roy was on the next peg, knocking out tench on a 3-foot whip, like he's some sort of Russian factory trawler. Starts laughing and he just looks at me and goes, "Oh, I like that." It says tackle dealers losing kit. Well, which is always my joke when I see an angler.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see an angler, I say, "Oh good, angler's losing kit, wonderful." I like to see that tackle dealers losing kit. I goes, "Don't get too excited, Roy." And
it doesn't cost me as much as it's going to cost you to replace it.
No, having a 12-foot rod,
yeah,
I could have walked all the way around and climbed the tree, but
wow.
Having a 12-foot rod and holding it up high and working it slowly and gently, I worked it out to the tree. Straight into the water. As it go out of the tree, give it a little flick, and it landed clear of the reeds. So there you go. So I started to wind it back and got it jammed up in the lily pads halfway across. I got out the lily pads eventually, but you know, it's like 20 minutes of slapstick, you know.
It happens.
20 minutes of sort of embarrassing slapstick, thank God no one was filming it. Yeah. This was really a case of Mr. Bean goes fishing.
More, yeah. There hasn't been much movement. I mean, by that set of lily pads over the back there's been 1 or 2 nudges on the lilies, so there's obviously fish in there. You can see the lily stalks
the far ones.
Yeah, you can see the lily stalks that being banged around as the fish are moving in between them, but you know, it's pulling them out of there that's the big thing. Yeah, I've got to draw them out somehow. Getting a bit sore.
Well, if I do this knee straight, it'll lock up. So. Just wondering if it's worth moving the floats.
Well, I mean, you know, that's the thing, is just, you know, try other areas and see. I'd like to think that they're over our bait, but yeah, that's, has that gone?
That's a lot deeper.
Yeah. Wonder if it'd be easier if we swap sides and you sit on this side.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking, you know, you can probably target in front of you a little bit easier.
No, funny, I've just seen if I can move over this way.
The only thing is that's a little bit sort of darker there. So
it's over dark that you can't see the float.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, you know, I'd like to think that the fish are probably in a brighter water.
Yeah, well, I moved it over there. You literally couldn't see the float.
Yeah.
It was dark and all that reflection on the water there.
Yeah.
Just wonder if we can actually get a little bit closer to the lilies there.
Sure you can. There's another section if you want one. You know, if you want to.
I think another section would take you right into the lilies.
Well, you're about 2.5 feet away, so you know you could still have a bit overhanging if you wanted here. But I mean, here, look, bite. Well, you got one. You got one. Oh, well, right. Start shipping back. Start shipping back. Guide him. Well, I'll guide him away. Right, guide him away. Right, now, start shipping. Right, that's it. Yeah. No. Come ship back further. Right, now split it when you get back. Keep your tip up. No, watch where the fish is. Right, no, watch where the fish is. Right, now. Keep, right, watch what the fish, now break it, make sure you got a hold, watch.
You're in the bank, at the back.
Well, you're the one in control.
Right, pull.
Right, no, right, now, control the fish. Right,
got it.
Right, now, right.
Got it.
Yeah. Right. Okay, right, now, well, no, you can do this, you know, right, come on, watch what the fish is doing, you'll be shipping back to your next joint. Yeah, no, not that joint. No, your next joint. That joint. That's where you want to be shipping back to. Now you'll get control of the fish. Right? Right, now. Don't forget about putting your pole in your pole roost. It's not all about, you know, right? So you're okay. Yep. Right, stand up.
Can't. Got the pole?
Oh, he's got a tench, I think. Yeah, I've got the pole. Right, take your time. I think it's got the hook caught under its peck. Yeah, it has. Look, you pecked it. You pecked it. Right. Yeah, you got it in the peck. Right, there you go. So, there's your first fish on a pole, Andy. Yeah.
So I'm trying to wet my hands.
Yep.
Which I can't do because I can't bend down that.
Good fish husbandry. Right, barbless hook, so there we go. Nice little male tench. See, there's a male gonads. You know, they're down there. They are. Nice little male tench on the pole. Andy's first fish on the pole. There he goes. Fish away. Okay. Yep. We are now filming.
Right. So what we've done now is we've shortened the pole slightly, taken a section off because it's getting a little bit unwieldy because it's a heavy pole. So we've taken one section off, we've repositioned the chair. I've raised the chair up a bit because being old and decrepit, standing up from the low chair was a bit hard. I've also moved my landing net where I can actually reach it easily without having to search for it and hand the pole to pole. We've moved the back roller, we've moved the float sock, and we've moved this, so it's all now a little bit easier. And we can now literally hold the float on my knees, just lift and drop nice and gently into it.
Yep, that's it. Get a bit of bait going
Paul
in.
wants to chuck a bit more bait in.
Yep, we'll get a bit more bait
Is that
in.
camera lined up on the pole?
The camera is on the tip of the pole. Yeah, and oh, hey, look at the accuracy. Oh,
You'll never play cricket for England.
we haven't got
like that.
we haven't got a pole unfortunately, which would be ideal. But well, we have, but we don't necessarily need it with that kind of accuracy, do we?
No. There's a pole put in my back, you know.
We can live with that kind of accuracy. Again, you could just got to watch and sort of keep your pole down a little bit. You know,
I don't think the pot's actually a pole. I think it's French.
Oh right. Well, there you go.
Well, that one died, didn't
Yeah,
it?
he did. He did. I think that could come down a bit because you know.
Could come just a fraction, couldn't it?
Yeah.
If I
only
collapse.
Yeah, no, only because you know you're sort of popping the pole out of the water, so only about 1.5 inches, and that means that the float will be able to do its work and stay in the water rather than hopping about.
You've got the float in the water. It's got a little bit of slack line. Wind's taking the tip a little bit, but it just makes it easier to
Plunk a little bit over
just
there.
lift it, drop it.
Lift and drop, and be frugal with the ground bait because he didn't bring much, which we could have done with because I think the tension quite like this.
I left it up to you to work out what to bring.
But there you go. We're on the money.
The whole point is this wasn't so much really a fishing trip. It was Andy goes pole fishing as a complete and utter beginner. Who's never fished with pole before, other than, like I said, with a runner bean, cane and bent pin for minnows, and basically to show the absolute basics of doing a bit of pole fishing.
It doesn't get much more basic.
And you know, we put a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And
there we go.
my top advice to beginners:
learn how to throw your ground bait and actually hit something. Years ago when I was a nipper, I used to throw tennis balls and stones into a bucket and keep moving it further away. Build your accuracy up, that's what I say.
Yeah. The top tip with any form of fishing you've not done before is don't get sucked into buying shed loads of gear and all sorts of stuff, most of which you won't know what its purpose is or how to use it. Start off really, really simple and basic, learn what you're meant to be doing, and then decide what other kit you need. Is that still fine?
Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, we're fine. So it's working absolutely fine.
Too much kit, you're only going to confuse yourself and be busy sorting out your kit rather than trying to fish. And we've had a nice little tench, probably heading for 4 or 5 pounds.
About 14 ounces.
That was using those cheap scales I got from Poundland. Probably about 14 ounces on the decent scales.
But very welcome all the more, and hopefully there'll be some more. It's a very effective way of fishing for accuracy. It's just a case of having a lighter pole to be able to work with. Because the longer this is effective at this length, this pole, and we've got 7 sections on it. Any more, we've taken 3 off. It's too unwieldy. You can fish at that distance, but you wouldn't want to be doing it all day. That's why we've shortened the line a little bit.
Hopefully it's picking you up.
Probably, maybe not.
I was looking at some camcorders the other week.
Yeah.
God, have they gone up in price?
Everything has. I know, it's crazy.
You know,
Everything's gone through the roof price-wise.
I was looking, I mean, the camcorders a couple of years ago were like a nice one for a couple of £100. They're now $450 and $500 for the same thing.
But I suppose they're digital now rather than tape, aren't they?
No, I'm talking about the same, I mean digital camcorders.
Oh.
For the same Canon camcorder, it was like £200, it's now $450.
Well, my High 8, my Sony High 8 was fantastic, and it had something like 80 times zoom on digital, and yeah, it would pixelate at extremely long distance. We're talking about
that was
half a mile.
videotape.
Yeah, but it was brilliant. Yeah, but it was a High 8. No, it was the mini tape.
Oh.
You know, but it was a High 8, so it was good quality. I used to do a lot of videos with that, and the thing is, you can zoom in on the fly. So if something happens, you know, if I saw something over there in the distance, I'd say a carp jumped or something, I could just zoom straight in onto the ripples and see if it's cruising around in that area really, really well. And it had screw-on lens caps, so you could get polarised lens caps. And the thing is, when your viewfinder picked it up, it was actually what you were looking at.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very effective.
When you look at how it's changed, I've got some video tapes which don't even have a video recorder, which Adrian was running around Bosnia during the time of the Troubles, and the camera he had was like an outside broadcast unit balanced on his shoulder.
Oh, those, yeah. Robin used to carry one of those. He used to carry a gigantic battery pack on his back.
Well, this was self-contained, but you could swap the batteries. It was self-contained, you could swap the batteries, but you were literally carrying it on one shoulder and holding it.
Yeah, it almost
You know,
needed a cart barrow to carry
you
all
were
of
looking
this
like
gear.
an outside broadcast unit with this taking.
But we are
It
going.
took full-size VHS tapes.
We're going back to the, yeah, that was his did the same. We're going back to the mid-80s, but you know, for its time, it worked. It was good.
Well, you know, good thing you could get about 4 hours recording without changing the tape.
Well, yeah.
Mate, you could only get about 4 minutes on the batteries.
Well, that was the killer. The battery technology was rubbish.
You know,
Yeah.
you're changing batteries every 10 minutes.
Yeah. Put them out there. That's it. Pick him up, put him down. Oh, there you go. Look, they're over there.
Definitely amongst those lilies.
Oh,
aren't
they are, yeah, yeah. I mean, that would have been the favourite place. Obviously, he's going close up to the lilies, but it's a bit too unwieldy. But having said that, when that tench, you know, I did say that you'd had a bite earlier. When that tench was grubbing around, it's roughly where we are now. So, I don't think it'll take too much to entice them out, to be honest. They'll come out at some point.
At this length, it's a cheap pole. There's not an awful lot of sag on it.
No, it's all right at this length. I think this is about its best length, or shorter, to be honest. You know, by feel, you know, when I hold it and feel what it's capable of, I think this is probably the longest, sweetest, longest length that you can fish with. You know, sort of, and make it count. The good thing about a pole though is because it's so direct, you don't strike at a fish, you just, because your elastic will ping, you know, you just lift into the fish, a good sharp hook and it will go straight in.
Yeah. The other thing I need to bring, right, for this bait particularly, is a small bucket and a string. So you can dip some water to wet your hands.
Yeah. I mean,
trying to bend down to the water.
Yeah,
but you want water out of the stream, innit? You're handling the fish, you should wet your hands with the water out of the pond or river that your fish is in.
well, wet is better than nothing, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
You know,
Anything's better than nothing.
as long as it's wet. Yeah.
Ideally on a peg like this,
Yeah, look, watch, you've just had a big pull. Yeah, I mean, you know, you
just bring a bucket, short length of string.
just
like
a
you
little
do on
collapsible ground bait bucket just to put your hands in before you handle your fish.
But we're doing a string like you do on a boat.
Yeah.
Like we're doing the boat, you just lean it over the side and hook a bit of water.
You're missing a trick, lift it and drop it because you've had a tug then.
Because you can't possibly reach the water to wet your hands on the boat.
No.
And it would be so much easier.
Or even just a rag and soak it before you start fishing. A wet rag.
Yeah.
You know.
I just think dip a bucket on a string, lift it out, you've got some bucket water to wet your hands
You just
with.
don't want to disturb the water much. If you're going to be fishing close in, you want as little disturbance
That's
as
just
possible.
said, before you start fishing.
Yeah,
I think before you start fishing, dip a little tiny bucket, dip a small bucket full of water, stand it by the side there, then you can just get your hands, easy to wet your hands to handle the fish.
Yeah.
This is tips for decrepit old codgers who can't bend down to pick their hands in the water.
What can I say? Yeah,
Does that still run though? Just
yeah,
shot me,
no,
yeah, so that's a picture.
Yeah.
We could edit that bit out later.
What, the decrepit old bit?
The decrepit old bit.
No, you got to tell the truth. you got to tell the truth. That's it. You know, just entice them in. Little and often.
What's that maggots you're throwing in?
I put a couple of jellies in there, and you know, only about 10 or 15 maggots.
Maggots are down there, yes.
Yep.
Just
to keep them falling in the water column, which is why you need to keep lifting, because obviously if the fish are off the bottom picking those up as they're dropping, which they probably are, then as you lift up and drop down, the chances are that they'll pick your bait up. And of course, with the shotting pattern the way it is, if they pick it up at the right time, your float's going to lay flat, so then you'll just lift into it, because obviously you've got a lift bite. Shoulders all right?
Yeah.
That's where a little picker rod down in a place like this, you know, anywhere between sort of 8-9 feet, it's perfect. You know, a little nice light soft tip picker rod.
Fished it with one. I've got a little. I fished it with one of those little rods that I made up.
Well,
Well, I had a little. It's supposed to be a
make a bespoke rod
pike
for
spinner.
it. Yeah.
It was supposed to be a pike spinner, and you got several of them where they snapped off about 8 or 9 inches of the tip.
Yep.
I tended to think it was a manufacturing fault because everyone I saw that was snapped 8 inches from the tip.
Bad mandrel then, probably.
I mean, everyone I heard that had been broken by an act of basically vandalism or stupidity, but they still broke in the same spot.
Yeah, I'd say it was probably a mandrel issue.
I mean, they're broken because they've been tripped over, jammed in bushes or whatever, but it was breaking the same spot, which makes you wonder. I've got one which I then cut it back and put a little quiver, spliced in a little quiver tip.
Yeah.
Cut it back to the point where a little very light feeder tip would fit and push in and splice that in. I mean, you can basically tell when your maggots died because the tip stops twitching.
It's probably a bit too light then.
But it's a lot of fun if you get any sort of fish on it.
Oh yeah, well any kind of feeder rod, if you get a fish on a feeder rod because you've got such a soft tip, you've got fish down there, mate. Did you see that vortex come up right underneath your float, So there's fish down there, so maybe lift and drop, just in case.
I mean, literally just lift it a few inches.
Yeah, well, sometimes, because we're quite deep, you can lift it maybe a foot or so and then let it come, that's it, and then just let it go back down again. Because normally you'd do that, when you've pinged some bait out in your catapult, because you're bringing your bait back into the falling maggots, so you'll throw your maggots in, and then you'll just lift and drop at the same time so that everything's going down at roughly the same speed. That's it.
It really is a lovely spot.
It is. It's just a nice little edge to do, little sort of things like that.
When you can think you could be miles from nowhere out in the wilderness.
It's so quiet on a Sunday. Nobody's chasing dogs around or anything.
There's no dog walkers.
It's
There's nobody fishing.
No. You've got the whole lake to yourself, really. I mean, I know we settled for this spot because it was the first place that we came to just to show people how to set up.
Yeah.
But we could have had a wander around for maybe an hour before we decided where to go.
Yeah.
But we've had a fish.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't such a bad choice.
But no, you've got a little bit of shade from the trees. I mean, almost all the pegs are nice and clean like this. Nicely blocked up with timber.
Watch your float, you've got a bite.